We want to begin by acknowledging that the land we're on is the traditional territory of the many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nation, Inuit, and Métis people.
Hi, Liz.
Hey, Ola.
How's it going today?
Good. I'm glad we can be here and hang and have these conversations.
Yeah, for sure. And it's always great to connect with you, and it's great that we can have this opportunity to discuss these concepts around creativity, inspiration, leaning into fear, reflecting on rest, and how to cultivate community, and what does community cultivation look like. So it's great that we can dive into it today.
Yeah, I'm excited too. And I think that piece about community, especially while we're in isolation right now, has been so big. I think it's just really important to take stock of what we're actually gonna need going forward. I think there's this pressure to want to jump right back in head first, especially when we look at social media and we see, how people are diving right back into life. And so to create a space to have the conversation around some of maybe the anxieties that exist within that transition, I think it's just important to feel seen in that, because I'm just trying to take my time.
I feel you completely on that as well. And with that, and with these anxieties that many of us face in the day-to-day, especially at this time, there's a lot of leaning into fear. There's a lot of leaning into fear, whether it's trying something new, a day-to-day task or responsibility, is also amplified, right? So with this, with taking stock of leaning into fear, how can we draw from that as something that's inspiring, something that's empowering?
And that's a really good question, and I'm not here to say that I have the answers, but I guess I can reflect on what that looks like for me. And, I think even being here and having this conversation, being real about, where we are emotionally, physically, mentally, artistically, it takes a lot to pause and to ask ourselves these questions, like, how do I really feel? What do I really need? And it requires facing ourselves. That's a fear that I had to overcome, I think, over this time. All this time in isolation, it's, you just have a lot of time to think. And I think that lends itself to a lot of opportunity for expression. And I think that that's a piece that we need to make clear as well, that expression is not necessarily just reserved for artists either. I think all of us can find that form of expression that makes sense for us, whether it be through, journaling, or even conversation can be expressive if we allow ourselves to get to that real place with people. Yeah,
and with that, it's also an element of tapping into what we have and that creative element to gain inspiration, to overcome that and face those things, and bringing it back to the present moment as well, right? Like you mentioned, it's facing the self, tapping into who we are as people and really analyzing that, but not analyzing in a critical way, but sitting with it, to be present with yourself and to have that reflective period. How have these experiences lent themselves as inspiration for you to continue on and grow as a person?
I think that where I am in my artistry now is a much more transparent space than I've ever been. And that, I think, requires sort of taking off the masks that maybe I was willing to wear before in my day-to-day. And I think the most surprising piece about that for me is to see who I'm surrounded by as a result. I think the willingness to be fully yourself, fully transparent about where you're at, just showing up where you are without feeling like you need to add these layers, to really feel like you are enough in the spaces that you move through. It took me a while to get there, but now I see that I'm actually surrounded by people who are showing themselves, in that same light. And it's a really beautiful thing to see how vulnerability often encourages vulnerability, in the spaces that you're in. I think that's become my new motto, my new mantra, that, even if it's not pretty, even if it's not marketable, even if it's not, attractive and easy to digest, like I'm gonna put my truth forward.
It's something that rings true in your artistry, and it always has. You've always written incredible prose and produced beautiful music that speaks to the human spirit and the human experience, and sharing these layered perspectives that many can relate to as well. So it's an element of showing up for yourself and for others without that performance element. We are so expected to show up and perform and be perfect and live up to this hustle and this drive and this culture that expects so much from us. But really, the showing up and the reality of the performance is being who we are, where we're at in this present moment, and embodying those experiences. Because that's where the truth and the honesty lies. That's where there's authentic value. And while we're on this progress to growth and expansion and connection, it doesn't always have to be one of solitude, right? There's an element of community, and whether that is one that you are a part of or the inner community, the community of self. What are ways in which we can connect to self to examine that element of this greater community as a whole?
Yeah, I think it's very easy to want to retreat to isolation when you are in a challenging headspace. And that is okay. First and foremost, that's okay. There are some things that you have to do alone, and there are some things that you need to face alone, and that's okay. But I think I had to come to a revelation for myself that self-care is not selfish, that it may be a journey that I have to walk on my own, but at the end of the day, it allows me to be present for my community in many different ways. I believe that believing in myself allows me to believe in others. I believe that loving myself allows me to love others. Caring for myself allows me to care for others. And I think that's been the most healing perspective.
That's really beautiful, Liz, and that is the community cultivation piece. That is where the foundation lies before stepping out to expand that inner community to outer community. Yeah. Liz, thank you so much for connecting, for sharing, for exploring all of these great topics today in our chat. I'm so grateful for this safe space and the time shared, so thank you so much.
Yeah, me too. I'm glad we could make the space for this. The song is called Girls Like You, and it's dedicated to anyone who needs to hear the words, "I'm proud of you."
Girls like you never hurt nobody with no reason to. Might be nice to hear somebody's proud of you. Whoa, whoa, and girl, I know that you're getting tired of being invincible. Maybe you could be the one that you need most. Be the one that you need most. She's got it all together, 22 hours of the day. She's her own defender, but tell me what is in that brace when the sun goes down? Is it safe when nobody's around? Oh, she's the first responder when it comes to giving love away. She don't want the drama that always seems to come with taking her own love back. She don't realize she needs just that. Oh, girls like you never hurt nobody with no reason to. Might be nice to hear somebody's proud of you. Whoa, whoa, and girl, I know that you're getting tired of being invincible. Maybe you could be the one that you need more. the one that you need most. Oh, you're losing sleep instead of calling out for help. Your loyalty shouldn't make you lose yourself. You're buried deep, the secrets that you keep. If it were up to me, you know your royalty. And girls like you never hurt nobody with no reason to. It might be nice to hear somebody's proud of you. Whoa, whoa, and girl, I know that you get it.